Everyone, this is the Town of Fairfield Conservation Commission agenda for June 15, 2022 at 7 p.m. Calling the meeting to order, and I'm putting Peter Hood as an alternate, as full member, and going to 3, approval of draft meeting minutes, Conservation Commission meeting March 16, 2022. Anybody have any questions or issues or any issues with that meeting minutes? No? Motion approved. Second? Second. Okay. And all in favor? Aye. All right. Now, Roman 4, new business, number 1, 25 Southport Ridge. Request for invasive removal, maintenance, and other activities within a conservation easement. Okay. Anyone here to talk about that? Please come on up to the wherever.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Mathis. I live in this area. I took this concept on thinking it would just be a small, uninteresting activity, but I have learned recently that there are several interested parties. So I did review the agenda feedback, and there are plenty of people opposing this. So I definitely just wanted to say off the bat that I'm not looking to do any drastic changes, anything major. Would love to do some type of modest cleanup. So essentially we have this easement in my my cul-de-sac, and we're looking to clean it up. Basically, there's kind of some overgrowth. We have landscapers that dump things in there. I was told by one of the commission members who drove by that it does have an abundance of poison ivy, and just kind of some things about possibly debris cleanup. So I did also have kind of some long-term goals listed about like maybe we could open it up and have kids play in there and that type of thing. And I have seen in some other opposing feedback that that is really strongly opposed. So certainly not trying to force anything by any means, but I was hoping if there would be any possibility to get approved to make some minor cleanups. I was provided the original easement language that does kind of mention debris cleanup could be up to the decision of this group. I did include some pictures briefly where you can just kind of see some, it's like piles of dead twigs, that type of thing. Let's see, I have it here. Nothing shall preclude the grantor, its successors, and assigns from pruning or removing dead or diseased vegetation if such vegetation is confirmed to be dead or diseased or determined to be of no extreme or of extremely low value in its current state for any natural or wildlife value by the Conservation Commission or its agent. So just wanted to bring forth this group to see if there is any possibility to get approval to start investigating making some of these changes. Of course, approval is one thing. I actually do not have any future plans in place how I would fund this. I have not investigated how to remove poison ivy. I've understood from a condo association president next door that removing poison ivy has different methods in itself that could be controversial one way or the other. So definitely more to come here, but I just wanted to approach the group to see if there's any possibility to approve that first phase of debris cleanup.
Who holds title of that piece of property?
Hey, sure. So my understanding is it does belong to the HOA that I am a part of in my cul-de-sac. So it's comprised of, I think, 9 houses, 7 owners, because the original builder, I think, still owns 3 or 4 and leases, rents them out.
Is that, you know that for a fact, or you just feel that's the case?
Oh, I do. I spoke with the builder and he did confirm, yes.
Okay, I guess we would need to see a copy of the survey for the property or the plat for the property to confirm that. Just because whoever owns the property is the person that the conservation easement is imposed upon, and we would actually need their permission directly rather than, you know, if it's your whole HOA, that's fine, but typically that's not the way it's done. It's usually done on one of the parcels, so we need to just clarify that.
Okay, sure. First example of first timer here. Yes, I could definitely get that in writing. That was a verbal conversation with my builder that, oh, the HOA owns it. So I can certainly get documentation if anyone is interested in proceeding with this, of course.
All right. Have you brought this up to your HOA itself? Have they voted on anything?
So it's a very straightforward HOA. We all pay like $300 a year, discuss nothing. It goes to a lawn maintenance crew. We don't have meetings, anything like that. In terms of knowing the people on my block, yes, it has been discussed, definitely. So I have people interested. I have one neighbor who would like to see professional plans before approving. She has the concept of, and I think it goes both directions, is she would be worried that if you remove anything, you would see more of the condominiums, you would see more of the highway, like even clearing debris might open up some of the visibility. So she would definitely she said she wanted to see professional plans. She doesn't just want someone to come out there and start hacking away at it. So that's I would say the closest to negative on our side. And then of course we have the condo association that shares the other half of it. And I've spoken to several members there. I believe they submitted their own feedback as well. One of the points of feedback I got from the president was that they would be open to potential discussion of debris removal, but certainly no further. So they don't like park concept, anything like that.
As far as the, and Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, other commissions, as far as conservation land, if there's dumping that is occurring there, that's against the easement itself. So, physical dumping by landscapers and stuff, that is in violation of the easement and should be removed, and I think is required in terms of the easement. In terms of the additional work that you want to do, I think you see what you might be up against. I think you need to get some input and get some plans. I think that the neighbor input, after 2 years of COVID, everybody wants to get along. Everyone wants to, be good neighbors, I think, and we all need to work together. So I think before we go too much further with this, it's very important to get together with your neighbors and work out what they feel is acceptable, and then bring it to us, and within the context of the language of the easement of the things that we can allow. Obviously, this is a passive recreation parcel. Baseball or active things are not allowed in there, and I don't think that we would change that. Or personally, I wouldn't change that.
Okay, yep, that definitely makes sense. And I think, sorry.
I was going to say that, just piggybacking on that, a letter from each HOA signed by the HOA president when you come back in front of this commission for further work. That would also be something that we would need to see. And what kind of debris is it? Is it just organic debris, or is there?
I would say organic, I don't have, car tires or anything like that. It's more like dead vegetation, I would say. So it's like maybe this
Looks
high.
like actually, the dumping is from probably for some of the houses on your cul-de-sac. The landscaper probably goes in there and just.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was trying to think like who it would be.
Yeah, so that's what I was just going to say. I would have a conversation. I would have your HOA have a conversation with your landscaping crew and maybe even the developer, and then ask the other HOA to discuss with their landscaper to first
Right.
find out if it's one of them that's doing the dumping. If that's the case, that's no bueno. Like they can't do that on that land. So that might be fixing the problem. I'd hate to see you go to a lot of trouble to clean it up, only for them to do it again.
My literal nightmare.
Right. So I would suggest having those two conversations with those two landscaping companies as well, just so that you're not doing this in vain.
Yeah,
Yep.
a small sign, no dumping, right now. I went there today and looked, I saw, it's not a lot of debris. It's mostly like lawn sweepings and branches and stuff that, somebody's been over the years, put it in there. So maybe a little sign in English and Spanish, no dumping, that would also help your cause.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Do you mentioned earlier that it's almost like it is not allowed to begin with, I think you mentioned, like as an easement. How do you proceed with what's there right now? Do you have any suggestions? I know this is not your problem.
I think that we have a very good director, and that he could probably instruct you along those lines. What would be in keeping with maintaining the easement and what's going beyond that.
Okay. I was like, oh, I know him. Okay, yeah, so I can definitely start with a written letter from my HOA and ask both HOAs to see if they can just kind of proactively talk to the landscapers they're aware of. I know certain houses on my block hire different ones, so it's not like we have one covers all. We probably have like 4 different companies that come through.
Is there any shared common space?
Sure. So for those of you who have driven by it, it's like a strip of grass. I would say, gosh, maybe like 10 feet wide. Would you say like 10 feet by maybe 50 feet? And so there's a lot of dog walkers who will just use that one strip before then all the foliage starts.
Okay, and whoever takes care of that.
That's literally the $300 a year HOA fee. So it's literally, I checked with our.
Right, so maybe ask your neighbors, can you talk to your landscaper? We need to find out who's doing this, that they can stop so that your efforts, which are admirable, are not in vain.
Okay, so it's me taking a plan of action forward and then possibly working with Tim on what to do with what has already occurred there. But neither can or should take place until we have kind of agreement between both areas that touch the easement, whether that's Southport Condo Association and ourselves. Does that sound along the right path?
Right, and then come back to us if you want to go further than just the debris cleanup with the 2 letters from the HOA and a plat, which Tim can help you figure out how to get that. So
Sorry, could you say the last one one more time? 2 letters
the
and
plat or sort of the it's like a map that shows us the boundaries of the property and who the ownership is.
You have a little copy in here. I guess it's a light image, but it's not, but this is the plat and we just need the full site.
Okay, got it. And then what we've been discussing so far kind of drops just to my street's interest and the condo association next to us. With the debris cleanup alone, I do want to mention that I did see other parties express interest in not touching at all. So I don't know if we then now open it up to that because I kind of just limited where I was going with that.
I'll just say that it's a tough situation, and I think that occurs more than we like to think, that someone wants to go to the trouble of cleaning it up, but it does open it up, because once you get in there and you see how many invasive species there are, you'll be shocked at how much screening those invasive species create. So.
Okay, yep, makes sense. I just didn't want to cut off any other groups that had interest in speaking here when I was only talking about. Okay, all right, cool.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. Yep. All right. So thank you very much. Any comments, questions regarding, please? Yes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff. My name is Joel Green. I practice law in Bridgeport with the law offices of Green and Gross. I should use my foot for this. With the law offices of Green and Gross, and it's my pleasure to appear before you this evening on behalf of the Southport Woods Condominium Association and the Sasquatch Association for Southport Improvement. The first comment I want to make is I appreciate Ms. Mathis's efforts, and we are a town of neighborhoods, and I think a lot of great things come out of people becoming involved in their communities, volunteering in their communities, and trying to improve their communities. And we share a lot of the same goals and objectives in terms of the property involved. And I just want to offer some comments for the record, and maybe fill in some of the blanks on the information that the commission, answer some of the questions that the commission had. I have an aerial. I did not submit this by email, but I have an aerial that I'm happy to share with the commission if you need context as to where this is, that shows the owners on the various sides. Would you like me to circulate that, or? Yeah, it's in color and it's got the property owners listed on it and highlights the property lines.
Do you have enough copies for everybody?
I only
now?
have one copy.
You can submit it after.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. The property is owned by, and I have a deed for the property that I can submit into the record. And for the record, the property is owned by the Kings Highway West Owners Association, Inc. And so it's private property, and that is the only property that they own. And it is apparently a company made up of the 9 owners of the properties owning individual building lots on the cul-de-sac. So that responds to the question by the commission. So as I had indicated, my clients share the wishes of this proposal to clean up the property. There is dumping that goes on there, and there are quite a few invasive species. And our interest in having the invasive species removed is obviously to preserve the property in its present state. The subdivision was created and the conservation easement was created in 2001. And at the time it was approved under wetland protection, part of the conditions and part of the approval said that if the property is private, it must be covered in a conservation easement to ensure the area is actually protected and not partially converted to lawn or play area, but is restored to a wetland buffer for water quality improvement and wildlife habitat. So the original purpose of it was for it to be sort of this open space and to remain in its natural state. More significantly, when the property was proposed to be subdivided, there was a single family home on it. There was a driveway that actually went through this forest. And I have a drawing that I can show to the commission that shows the original sort of layout of the property if you're interested in seeing it.
Sure, yeah.
So this was the alternate one. See this? This is the alternate one, and the open space is right here. There was actually a drive that came up, and there was a home. I'm sorry. There was a home right here on the property, and the Southport Woods condominium had already been established, and this is, first of all, this shows that there's a lot of ledge, and when you drive on the street, you can see that there's rock outcroppings. This shows the wetland on the property, the drainage. And as you can see, in 2004, when the conservation easement was recorded, there was, at the same time, there was a stormwater easement and a drainage easement granted to the town, which are shown on the plan right here. Here is the wetlands in approximately the same location as before. And, but this is significant because at the time it was proposed, my clients agreed. They had concerns, obviously, about having this development because the condominium backs right up close to the property line. And they did not oppose, or they withdrew their opposition to the subdivision based on their understanding that this would remain as passive open space. Based on their understanding that this open space would create a buffer and a visual buffer, not only obviously wildlife habitat and drainage area, but also it creates a visual buffer for a lot of the units so they don't see I-95 and the development on Kings Highway West and the development beyond. And that's why they've gotten involved in this. So there was kind of this. My clients assure me, and that's stated in the letter from the condominium association to you. So we're concerned about preservation. We are concerned about preserving the understanding we had.
Thank you, counsel. Commissioners, any questions?
No, I think we made it clear that, though, that this should be a cooperative effort for all involved, and by doing so, this could be a fun project, and seems like the woman who was here to bring this forward is fine with that, so work together. I think it could be a really great little project.
Yeah, we just want to avoid paths or play area or lawns and that sort of thing. And I know that's consistent with your goals and objectives as well.
I walked that property, there's no play lawn area there.
No, I know.
So, I think that you could all work to make that a little, pocket area that's pleasant and bucolic for people to just view and enjoy. But, work together. I think it'll be a good experience.
Great. Thanks so much. And thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further questions?
What I'll do
Would you
is
be able
I
to
will- I can hand
submit
it to
that?
you, But
Yeah.
I'll also email it this evening.
That'd be great.
So I'll
Yeah,
give
that'd
you
be helpful.
I'll give you these, actually, this I'll have to scan, but I will give you the warranty deed right now. And then I'll submit it by email this
Okay,
evening.
that'd be fun if you can give it to Tim Bishop.
And I can also e-file the plan that I showed you, the original plan that accompanied the permit.
That'd be helpful because we were
Great.
asking about a plot plan earlier, so
Great.
that'd be helpful.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Any further comments? And again, thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Eileen Ward. I live at 6 Southport Woods Drive, which is right up against this easement. And I would also say that there's a dumping on my side as well. Piles in a similar pile. I think I sent some other photographs to you. And I've lived there since 1994. I remember the previous property. It was bucolic. It was, daffodils sprouting up everywhere, beautiful little house and lots of land. So when it was going to be developed, I have to say I was a little nervous and was happy to see the easement go up. But since then, it's not just that it's overgrown. Trees are falling. There are branches that fall. Some fall. There's a tree that's at an angle like this for the last 2 years. And it's just not healthy. It's not really safe. So I know Kelly not from the neighborhood, but outside the neighborhood. And so we had discussed this and I thought, wouldn't that be nice to just clean it up a little bit? So, because you don't know who to call. Anytime I've asked the condo association people, they'll say something, oh, that's on the easement. We can't do anything about that or whatever. But it's the path I walk down every day. And just feel like it could have some sense of who people have to answer to, or how we make that at least a little bit safer and a little more aesthetically pleasing. So I'm happy to hear the condo association is at least open to some parts of that.
I just have a quick question. When you say it's unsafe, can you elaborate on that and how, if people aren't walking through that property, where the safety?
I'm saying the
is?
trees are falling. I mean, there's big branches, small branches, and at least 2 trees that are in the easement have fallen down. One over towards the condo association, there's a little spit of land where there's a bunch of trees that the condo association planted maybe 5 years ago. Big, tall pine trees, and then there's some other trees in front. But there was a very large tree that went down, took the wires down, but that was probably 10 years ago. I mean,
Okay,
it
but
took a really long time to build that development.
So right now, is there a direct hazard to humans in that area?
Well, again, right now, it's probably, although if the wind blows enough, it's going to come over on our side, but it is at a diagonal. It's over.
Okay. I just want to make a comment for the record that what humans typically think of as a safe and cleaned up area is not necessarily in keeping with conservation. Yeah. So as we have these discussions, I want everybody to keep in mind that dead trees, dead branches, different kinds of organic materials that are meant to be, they're not dumped, are essential to conservation. So even though it might be unpleasant for us to look at, there is really little value in cleaning it up in terms of taking down dead trees.
Tall trees also that, again, are not healthy. And that I would say that could easily fall over. They're large enough to go out on Kings Highway West.
Yeah, and I
And
just want to
who
reiterate.
takes care of that?
Right,
So
no,
it's not
if-
like we're deep in the
Yeah, if
forest.
there
here.
is a hazard to a building or human, absolutely, then someone should look at that.
So who does that?
Yeah,
Who's responsible for
the
those?
property owner.
So part of it
The
goes
condo
is on
association.
condo side.
The HOA that is named in the deed that I'm assuming we just
Oh,
got
okay.
would show who the owner is. So that's the responsible party, but it seems like that just simply I don't want to call it a shell, but it's a loose association of 8 or 9 homes that are on that street. That's what it seems like.
If you have trees on the condo property itself, that would be the condo association's
Right.
responsibility to do, and you should talk to your HOA, and if they need to,
I have multiple times.
we
Yeah.
can't, beyond that, we can't help you.
I know you can't do anything about those trees, but I'm just worried about the other trees behind it,
So I just
depending
want
on how they
so
fall.
just to, and I hope I don't sound like a broken record here, but everyone needs to understand that conservation isn't always pretty. Conservation means that there's not a playground or a baseball field or lawn. There might be walking paths, but generally conservation means that we are leaving the land in its natural state without any kind of human disturbance.
I get that. And I think it's benefited. You can see it is a wetter wetlands now, I mean, than it had been previously. So there are things that obviously you're protecting and I would fully support. But again, this is just, it's kind of feels to me like it crossed a line in the last few years. It's really, again, the vines and the poison ivy and the deer are very happy. I mean, that's a whole other story because they now visit me more frequently and eat my plants or the plants on my patio. So I just think if there's something that can be done to hold some accountable and create and make it look a little better while still preserving what your goals are.
Right. And also to Ms. Mathis, I've just also invasive species cleanup is in keeping with any conservation program. So I don't want to, and any dumping, even if it's organic material, anything that shouldn't be there, by all means, we will be in support of having it removed. So I don't mean to say that we shouldn't touch it at all, but just in a responsible manner.
In the invasive species, you have to know a little bit about the ecology of the plants, because you can make it a lot worse if if you don't do it right. So it takes, you need to have somewhat of a professional or, the soil and water conservation service or somebody to advise you on some of that.
Any other questions? Any other commissioners? I think at this point, I'll entertain a motion to continue this so that the applicant can come back with more information.
So moved.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right, now we're on to Roman numeral 5, old business. Number 1, which was continued, the Brett Woods open space. Revised access plan by Eversource related to transmission tower replacement project. And Eversource is here. Yes. Okay. Please come on up. You're sure there's enough room for all of you. please hold the button for our recording purposes, unfortunately.
Thank you, Greg. Hi, Abigail Bowerstocks, an Eversource representative.
Craig Peterson.
So Eversource is requesting 2 permanent off-right-of-way accesses through the Brentwoods open space to complete work associated with the 1714 rebuild project. By obtaining these off-right-of-way access locations, the project would avoid impacting 1 vernal pool and 2 wetlands within the right-of-way. Obviously, we know you guys are, we would all really like to avoid vernal pools and wetlands during construction, so that is our goal. The first route is off of North Street, the western access off of North Street, which is off of Gilbert Highway. This access would be to new proposed structure 908A. And then the second route is actually comprised of 2 paths. I don't know do you guys have the maps? Okay, cool.
We do, thank you.
The second route is eastern access off of North Street, which is off of Reading Road. And that would access structure 908 and 906. Structure 907 would be accessed in right-of-way from structure 908, but would not impact any wetland areas. So I know we met and did a site walk a couple of weeks back and discussed that the roads would be gravel. So they would be improved to a 16-foot width, gravelled, and select trees would need to be removed for that widening operation. We also discussed installation of gates to the trailheads, 2 of them on the western access and 1 of them on the eastern access. And at the end of the project, those gravel access roads would remain in place as upgrades to the current trail system and would be able to be used by the public. So construction or proposed timing for this project is technically between June of 2023 and spring of 2024 intermittently throughout that time, kind of like a week here, a week there. And for public safety during times of constructions, we would be closing off certain trails for access. We would be giving advance notice to the council and any other parties, keeping them comprised of our construction schedule. We would also have, trail closed signs made up for public safety, as well as having a construction representative be available to direct any type of human interaction on site at all times.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any questions?
We're talking about the top, you're going to come through essentially this rock to make
Yes,
16.
the rock, the black and white is really screwing with my eyes, sorry.
We talked a little bit about, since it's going to be widened, the
Commissioner,
gravel will stay.
Commissioner?
We
Yep.
would essentially end up with a small parking area.
Is this are you talking about the western?
The west side, the
Yes,
2
yeah.
gates, the 2
So-
gate area.
We did discuss on site, to your however you'd like this to look, that it would be possible for us to remove some additional trees and expand the existing gravel there to create a couple of extra parking spots. So that is absolutely something that we are willing to do to help out the commission and that area.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners?
I would just say that when we took the site walk, for me, it was a very positive experience. I thought you all were very open. I think they seem the project's going to happen. That's all there is to it. But to me, what I was grateful for is that there was a real spirit of cooperation going back and forth. I mean, while we were there, you were looking for suggestions that we had about how we could get this done. And I think we were talking, I mean, I asked, somebody asked, do you want to put an apron down because they're going to be bringing in enormous machinery and they have to have a 16-foot, which is quite a bit. So there's going to be trees coming down. There's going to be the rock I mentioned, that's gone. You got to get through.
This old foundation's gone.
But we were talking that would a mat be better or gravel? And your engineer said, well, I'd prefer gravel. And so I'm right there because there's a few places you know, they get muddy and anything I can,
Safer in terms
Yeah.
of people walking during,
right.
During
you know, while the
construction
matting
activity.
is there.
Right.
Matting is not fun to walk on.
Just so everybody else understood that. I'm not experienced enough to know about the matting. I'm just for their benefit. And for me, you know, it's being left behind. It's, to me, it's just a benefit. And they're going to put some gates in, which is, they've got to move some rocks. They're going to bring a gate. It was very, very positive.
You can either roll that rock back in its place or give you a nice gate.
Right. We didn't cover the bronze statue though of me at the parking lot.
I mean,
'Cause,
we can work that out.
and Dabney might be a little bit aware of that because we were talking a couple of years back, there was conflict at the top with parking. So the idea that we were talking about was make some space, move some parking inside just to kind of cut that off for the future. But I mean, I'm going on and on, but I'm just saying, for me, the site walk was very positive
Thank you. I appreciate
and I enjoyed it.
that. It was a nice afternoon walk.
I have
Thank
a
you.
quick question. What is the timing again for the major construction?
So it goes in phases. So civil construction, pending all permits are received by this time. Obviously, these dates are a little bit subject to change, but our current proposed schedule is starting civil construction in June of 2023. The civil construction would be approximately 2 weeks long, give or take. We would come back in July to,
Probably clarify that civil construction
Oh,
is
sorry.
when these
sorry.
these pathways will be cleared, shall we say.
Thank you, Craig. Sorry. Yeah. Civil would be the roads would be installed, trees would be removed, and we would, you know, put our paths into these structures, including the work pads and the access roads to go up to them. So that would be in June of 2023. Drilling would come in, meaning drilling equipment would be used to access these roads and these structures to drill for our piers in like the July of 2023 timeframe. That would be approximately 2 weeks for all of those structures within that span. And then we would come back a few more times, but come back in October for 2 to 3 days, come back in February of 2024 for 2 to 3 days, and then restoration would be spring of 2024.
Okay, so most of the earth moving, the earth disturbance will
Yes,
be in June.
June of 2023, correct.
Do you have any plans to mitigate for the disturbance of the vernal pools? It's just an essential time of the year for those.
So
pools.
by accessing through the Brentwoods open space, we are avoiding vernal pool impacts. That is literally the whole goal of this, is to avoid the wetlands and the vernal pools. So on your mapping, it is a slight bit confusing because we are showing the purple is our proposed route off right away. We are showing an in right of way option through VP1. That would be eliminated completely once we get approval to put in these off right of way roads.
Got it.
We need the in right of way options for citing mapping. This is what you're looking at, is our citing mapping. So essentially, until we get the purple approved, the span between 909 and 908A, if we get this approved, that would be deleted. And then also the span between 908A and 908 would be removed as well.
Okay, forgive me, I wasn't able to attend the walk. So those new roads are to use in lieu of the existing gravel road.
Correct. Yeah, they are.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's in lieu of in right of way, correct. So that would be much more environmentally sensitive.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions?
Yeah, they were taking the shortest routes that they could, as I recall. I mean, that was the goal.
Yeah,
And Ed was there and he seemed pretty satisfied.
yeah, he really loved that gravel, so.
Thank you.
I mean, I took pictures while we were there and I stuck them on a piece of paper and they're just numbered in, actually, you guys might want them, in terms of what their path's going to be.
Yeah, so the route off of the like Western North Street is pretty short. Like I
Right.
said, we're gonna be going on all of the existing trail system. So that one's a pretty short one. The longest one is to structure 908. We do follow that path for quite some time, but the other two are pretty short.
Because otherwise they would have gone all the way up North Street.
Correct.
Ed actually liked parts of that too, but,
Correct. Yeah, we had to eliminate a little bit of I guess the old North Street in there because of the curvature.
but it's very short.
And just one other question, because it's phased, then alternate routes will be available for people who walk and use it?
Absolutely. So during construction, meaning like the hours of construction, that's when the paths will be closed, those portions of the walking trails. Before and after construction day is done, those trails would be reopened. And it would only be during times of active construction for essentially, if you tabulated it all together, maybe 4 weeks.
And in between those phased times, will there be any large earth moving equipment or anything that will be
There
left
should
on site?
not. No. The equipment moves with the project, so it goes from structure to structure. We might, a day or two before completing certain phases of construction, there might be a piece of equipment dropped off, but that can also be discussed if that's a hazard or something. We can absolutely discuss
Nothing
that.
long term.
No, nothing long term.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Any comments? Anybody from the public for any comments? Thank you. Hi, please, give us. There's a button on the microphone in front of you. Could you press that on the base of the microphone down here? Push. Yep. Yeah, press it in. Then the green light will go on.
You have to hold it down.
Yeah, unfortunately. Sir?
You need to hold the button.
Yeah.
While you talk.
While-
You're talking, we gotta hold the button.
Well,
Yeah,
whole
because
time.
the whole time, it'll
okay,
record
all
what you're
right.
saying.
I got it. My name is Glenn Gorlick. I've been involved with the abutting property to Brett Woods, which now is 3250 North Street and 3220 North Street. It was an 8-acre parcel way back when we subdivided it into 2 building lots. So I've been involved there. I've been before the Inland Wetlands Commission many times, and I've granted a number of conservation easements on the property. So I'm very familiar with the wetlands in that area. My primary concern with their proposal is that there's a tower on 3250 North Street and how they're going to access the tower. If an easement is granted through Brett Woods, to Brett Woods into their right of way, I don't have a problem with that. It's just how are they going to get from, I believe it's tower 906 to 905. I believe 905 is the tower on 3250 North Street. Not exactly sure that that's the right number, but there's an extensive wetlands there. And if you can just imagine the heavy concrete trucks, I mean, the tower that's there is going to most likely be replaced with a higher monopole, which is going to require a big concrete footing. It's got to be 15, 20 feet wide and 15, 20 feet deep for that monopole. So you're going to have heavy concrete trucks and all kinds of equipment coming in to replace the tower on 3250 North Street. So my primary concern is how they're going to get through Brett Woods, through their right of way to replace the tower on the property that I'm speaking about. And there's a clear alternative. Every time I've been before the commission, they want to know, is there any alternatives to destroying the wetlands or the wetland habitat? And there's a clear no-brainer alternative, and that is coming up the access way to lot 2 or 3250 North Street. It's totally dry land. There's no wetlands on it. They just can go right up, replace the tower, not have to go through Brett Woods, disturb any wetlands or wetland habitat, and avoid that completely. And that's my primary concern, and that's why I'm here tonight. To basically, there's a couple letters in the file that I've written And I wrote an email yesterday, which I guess Mr. Bishop said is on your record. Basically just talking about exactly what I'm discussing here today.
Thank you.
So that's my issue.
Thank you, appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, Eversource
Yep.
to respond to that?
Right. Thank you, sir. If you can take a step back, I'll have Eversource come back and see if they can answer. Thank you.
So with regards to structure 905, which I believe is on the property of concern, structure 905, we are currently showing accessing from Reading Road in right-of-way. We are proposing going through wetland 17 on your current map set. However, accessing from structure 906 through the Brentwoods open space would impact vernal pool 3 and wetland 16 in its entirety. That vernal pool spans the entire width of the right-of-way. So we are currently not proposing impacting the vernal pool and staying in right-of-way from 906 to 905.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
Yeah, what about the alternative that the gentleman suggested about accessing through 3250 North Street? Is that private property? Is there a chance to access it? Would there an easement, a temporary easement be granted for that?
Craig, why don't you come up and answer? Craig is our real estate. We have been in contact with said property owner about the access, and I'll let him hold the button for you.
Okay. Yeah, we've had some discussions with the property owner there. And right now, it doesn't look promising that we're going to be.
Sir, one at a time. I'm going to ask you to step back until they're. Okay, okay. Sir, I asked you to step back. Yep, and I'll ask them to speak louder. If they're pushing the button, please get it closer to your colleague there and go ahead. Thank you.
We have had discussions with the property owner over which that access path that Glenn is referencing over their property. And at this point in time, it doesn't look promising that they're going to be willing to grant a temporary access.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay. Any motion? You putting it in?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Anybody second?
Is this before us? How is this before us? Is it an application? Is it an informational item? I'm not quite sure. Not granting a wetland permit because no wetland permit is needed because utility.
Conservation.
Okay, I'm just asking, the question, will a wetland, Tim, does this require a wetland permit? Is this an exempt activity? Tim,
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
does any aspect of this require a wetland permit? Is this all an exempt activity? Is it declaratory ruling? How is, in a sense, like some wetlands are going to be disturbed. So is there a wetland required or is the utility company exempt? I'm just want to answer for that.
There's
The wetland that gentleman was referring to, they're going to come from the other end. So they're not going to be disturbing that.
I
They're
think
gonna
they
be
just said they're
close.
going to
I
be
mean,
crossing
it's
the
not that
wetland with
close.
that to get to Tower 905.
The wetland 17 that we're proposing processing is not in the Brentwoods open space.
And I guess, so are you going to apply for an application to disturb that?
Yeah, so all of our environmental permitting will be completed prior to the project start, and we'll have everything in place.
So you'll be back before us as the wetland commission then?
I would have to ask our environmental permitting people, but we do go for the SWIP permitting and citing council and all of the applicable permits.
I know the
for
water
wetlands.
company is exempt from some the wetland applicants, but I don't think the utility company. So you'll have to come back to us for a wetland permit, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
What we're trying to, what Mr. Fain is trying to tell you is that if you are crossing a wetland, even if it's not part of Brett Woods open space, you'll have to come back in front of this commission serving as the Inland Wetlands Commission, because we serve two purposes here. Tonight is just conservation, but every other week we're the Inland Wetlands Commission. So you will have, your company will have to come in front of us for permission to cross those wetlands that are not part of Brett Woods. That
Well-
makes sense? Okay.
I'm not sure, but talk to your counsel, and then if that's required, you will come before us. So I don't want any commissioner here to give you something that might not be correct. You have people that are going to do their homework for you.
Correct.
And if you do need to come in front of us, great. If not, it's going to be on the state level or you're exempt, one or the other.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah. So our environmental permitting department would take care of all of that. And if we do need to come back to you, then we will absolutely do so.
Great, thank you.
And
Thank
I apologize for being presumptuous.
No. Yes, sir, come on back. Now that you've heard, yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay, again, please press the button when the green light's on so we can record it for the record. Thank you.
I got it. I just want to make sure I'm clear, because I'm hearing different things, because I've been filing applications for 40 years before in the town of Fairfield. So, and I've given conservation easements, and I've had soil scientists and biologists and surveyors, and I've had the whole 9 yards. And, you know, what I'm hearing is that, okay, like I said, I don't have a problem with their easement going into Brett Woods. It's just, I went through extensive work on that property next door. And I had to build a stone wall 10 feet from the wetland line that was determined by the soil scientists. And I'm preserving anything. There's no destruction to any wetlands or wetland habitat on that property. And I even gave a conservation easement. So, you know, when I'm hearing about, listen, I have nothing against the Eversource, but when I'm hearing that somebody can just cross the wetlands with heavy concrete trucks and everything else, and the wildlife and the soils are just, you know, so I guess the bottom line is, I guess it's the issue you talked about. Do they have to come back when they want to access that tower? And if they're going to go through a wetlands, go to the Inland Wetlands Commission and file an application like everybody else does.
If they're required to do so, they will do so.
Right, exactly. And,
Okay, so if your concern is whether or not they get special treatment,
exactly.
I don't believe that they do, but the statutes let them
Right.
do some things,
Yeah.
and other things they need to come in front of us.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on that. You know,
Yeah,
all
I'm not an
volunteers
expert
up here.
either. You know, it just
So
seems like what's good
they-
for the goose is good for the gander.
Yep.
It's a profit company. You know, they would have to come back and go before the inland.
If they're
and be
required to-
reviewed and whatever they need to do.
If they're required to, they need to come here. If they do something that they're required to do and they don't do it, then they'll get in trouble, just like everybody else.
There you go.
Okay.
And I'll be back at that point in time.
In the
Perfect.
meantime,
Thank you.
this is the preferred alternative that you're talking about that avoids wetlands impact. So this is a good plan in terms of accessing these towers. And I make an emotion we approve the,
Yeah, well, emotions, I think it was a motion on, I think it was seconded, if Brian seconded. Okay, so all in favor for the motion? Well, I want to put the motion on, to clarify what the motion is. It's a revised access plan based on conversations and discussions we had tonight with additional items that include gates and things of that nature. And Eversource agreed to all of that. So that's what the motion is, just to be clear. It's been put before us, it's been seconded, so we're voting on that now. Okay? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. We're done with that item. Now we're on Roman 5, number 2, 265 Wesley Lane, proposed conservation easement, wetlands restoration. And I will, this has been brought, it's continued, so it's being brought in front of us again, but I'm still going to ask Commissioner Fain to recuse himself. And we're all here. Okay. Anybody here for that? Ma'am, may I ask if you're here for something? Okay, all right. Hey, yeah, sure. So Tim, what is this? Is this in front of us as an application for something?
This is before us,
Did they-
which was before us before, in the past as Conservation Commission. The reason why I added this to the agenda was a proposed update. As you recall, this parcel had a sport court on the within a wetland and an easement, which is why it was before the commission before, with a proposal to do some work here, which included partial conservation easement swap, which would have added additional land to the easement. What's came before the department this week, or last week, I should say, was twofold. Removal of the sport court that was in wetlands and easement, and the shed, if you recall, which is not, may or may not be shown on this map. Removal of the shed in the sport court out of the wetlands and the easement, which I think resolves one issue, well, both issues, and placement of the new sport court further to the, I think that's north, outside of the wetland and easement. So it's just a relocation and a restoration, and that would all be done under staff level permit. So that was the purpose of it being on the agenda tonight, was just to update some old business.
Okay. So then I just want to be clear that they weren't really planning to be here, and it's for us to review and to do what you just did, to tell us that it's now at a level where it can be signed off on by you. That's
Correct. And again, it goes without the violation that we had discussed as should have been historic in nature, but accomplishes the removal of those structures and restoration of the wetlands and easement.
Okay.
And also they're therefore dropping the request to do the easement swap.
Great. All right. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Then I don't think we need to do anything with this. It'll just be.
We're not.
Yeah.
So what about pursuing a violation?
There is no violation if they remediate. Well, this gets rolled in, I think, to the remediation by them submitting this. And if they do this work and Tim signs off on it, I think that deals with it.
All right.
All right, Roman 6, bills and communications. I don't see anything there. 7, legal enforcement action. Ongoing enforcement action related to conservation easement violation at 120 Wakeman Lane and 200 Long Meadow Road by Inland Wetlands Agency. The 120 Wakeman Lane, we still have 30 days. So.
Correct. The department office has received no correspondence related to this site.
Yeah.
Zero
questions?
update
Zero
based
update,
on
no communication from anybody.
since the last Inland Wetland Agency meeting.
Okay,
Have you made sure that work isn't continuing there?
I could go out tomorrow.
I would.
that would be
appreciate that.
appreciated. Yeah, I think that'd be appreciated. But maybe just to visualize. Yeah. As a visual, don't go, don't go knocking on doors and things like that.
I just want to say too, a letter did go out after the last Inland Wetlands Agency meeting, just saying, come to the July 6th meeting, our next
Okay.
inland, and provide us with an
Okay,
update. So
So
they
this is,
were informed
Right.
immediately after.
and so, yeah, that's for the July inland wetlands. So this
Yes.
is really just for us to
This, yeah.
get an up, yeah, okay.
I just have a question regarding mechanics of these conservation easements. The town actually holds a conservation easement, not this commission, is that correct? And we in planning and zoning and us just kind of administer it, but the town actually holds it. So in terms of these enforcement actions on conservation easements, is that the town attorney that would enforce? I mean, we're not a police thing. We can't go out and physically enforce this. Would we refer this to the town attorney for enforcement?
Once it gets to the, drop dead, you got to do this, and they don't do that, then we refer it to the town attorney. But we can, up to that point, if they work with us, work with them to remediate. Yeah. And then the second one is 200 Long Meadow Road. Tim?
Yes, I've had ongoing correspondence with Mr. Sinclair's representative over the past weeks, and that will appear with restoration and NOV corrections, corrective action before the IWA.
Thank you. Where are we? Staff report. Number one, reports from the Conservation Department.
I'll speak on those. Mr. Jones is not with us tonight. A few things just to note on the conservation side. The department has three Eagle Scout projects simultaneously in progress at the moment, all going very well. One was, I think, just finished recently last week at Lake Mohegan. Another one ongoing at Lake Mohegan as we speak. And this Saturday in Oldfield Road, Marsh North, will be the Osprey platform installation. Also, 760 Oldfield, also known as Oldfield Road, Marsh North. We've completed some native plantings along the split rail fence separating our parcel access to the rest of the marsh from Oldfield Road, and also preparation for the much anticipated bird blind jointly with the Tucker Fund. As of yesterday, United Illuminating strung the aerial wire from Mohican Hill Road over to Morehouse Highway to provide electricity for our automatic gate. That was ready around last Thanksgiving, less the correct power source. So that is in preparation. Spoke with chiefs of fire and police department today, as well as DPW, regarding remote access in the event there was an emergency that they needed to get in after hours while the gate was locked. So that is ongoing, and I have a site meeting there tomorrow with the gate installer to get it programmed. And then lastly, on the conservation side, we're also working with at three various areas with bamboo removal on open space, mostly from adjacent residential parcels. So that seems to be the hot invasive plant this week to battle for the department. I think that's about all I have for staff reports. Does Sarah have anything? No. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And if you wouldn't mind continuing on with sidewalks, if you can tell us what the addresses are again, that are the sidewalks that we can do.
I left that blank. I didn't have any site walks for Conservation Commission.
Oh, okay. So you're not lumping the two together, so you'll keep them separate?
Correct.
Okay, my mistake. Thank you.
Just to avoid any confusion.
Okay, thank you. Other?
I have a quick question for
Yeah.
staff. So I was down at, and I don't remember which open space it is, but it's down South Pine Creek. There's a dead end. I don't know if that's the Richard White conservation's. It sort of backs up to the baseball fields. I think it's an HOA back there that it dead ends into. Anyway, I haven't been back there in a while, and the trail has been evened out. There's nice crushed stone. There are markers that tell you how far the trail goes from different branches that, you know what I'm talking about, Peter? I don't know when that was done, but it looks beautiful. And I just want to commend the department on a superb job out there.
Is the former commissioner, the dedication so that people can mark how far they're walking. from the senior center. I just, that was my impression. I noticed them last year sometime, but,
A lot of those, I think, are being done by the Eagle Scouts, aren't they? They put in those markers in, yeah. It's a bunch of
pretty
Eagle
cool because
projects.
I think it's a good way to monitor how far you're walking.
Yeah, behind the senior center along that race trail is also one of the areas where we're focusing on. You'll see some scattered bamboo between the trail and the marsh. So I think we approach that tomorrow. So it's before it encroaches further into the marsh, I want it nipped in the bud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, any comments? All right, motion to adjourn from anybody? All in favor? Yep, okay, there we go. We're all done. Thanks, folks.